All right, Gabriel, you were just sharing right now. So at that time, you were on the run and everything after shooting and stuff. So, man, what was just kind of going through your mind, thoughts and stuff? Like, I know you mentioned about being homesick, how that's kind of like playing an effect,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I mean, after we did that, like I said, I thought he was dead, and my mind was, I'm not trying to go to jail. You know, what I mean? I was trying to get out of there. But once I did, I tried to, just stay on the low. But me being a youngster, I just always wanted to be in stuff. You know what I mean? So even while I was down there, I was starting to get into stuff even down there. So I knew eventually I was going to end up getting caught up. So when my mom convinced me to come back, it didn't take too much convincing. Like I said, I was homesick, wanted to, come back home to the homies or whatever. And really, I was just ready to get it over with. You know what I mean? Pretty much just go ahead, face what I had coming, get it out the way, and just, keep living, So after I got back, I wasn't expecting, you know, going to the county jail. I thought when he said, "Hey, where we going to the Berry House?" Like, no, you're going with the big boy. You're going to the county jail. So it kind of hit me like, oh man, you know what? This probably ain't going to go as good as I thought.
Yeah.
You know. So after I get there, there was already some other homies, because they had the 13th floor was the juvenile floor.
Yeah.
And so when we get up there, even as I get into the getting booked in, they got this holding tanks. I see one of my homeboys, Pinky. He in there, and he's coming back from court. He ended up catching the case and stuff. So he was in there. He just come back from court, and so he's the first one I seen. I was getting booked in, so they put me in there with him, and we got to talking. And Manny Boy from Central, him and Dela Cruz, they had just shot that guy. So Manny Boy was up there in the pod. So they just telling me like, "Hey man, there's a Central up there. Like, man, was I up there or what?" So anyways, he told me then, he's like, "Ah man, but you know what, leave him alone, man. He's cool, whatever. Man, we'll see." So when we get up there, everybody was locked down. So I'm going out to the cells, looking in the cells to see who was all in there. And I see Manny Boy. So I see him, and he see me, he act like he knew me, like we was always from back in the day or something. He got to talk to you, like, "Hey, who are you, man? I don't know you." Anyways, but yeah, that was January 16th, 1992. I got put in the county jail, and I didn't get out since. I had a $2,000 bond. I could have got bonded out, and I already had my brother-in-law ready to put the money up, but my mom had to be the one to put the house up. You know what I mean? For collateral or whatever. And my mom refused because she knew that if I would have got bonded out, that I probably would have ended up catching some more cases or would have got killed because your almost probably would have retaliated and it'd have been over with. You know what I mean? So something bad was going to happen and she knew it.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of people out to get you.
Yes.
Wow.
So my mom knew this and I begged her.
And she's a believer, right? So
Yeah,
like even
yeah. So
connection with the Lord, right?
Yeah, so she, from day one, she would pray for me day and night. When she wake up, she pray for me before she go to sleep. She pray for me. Even before I got locked up. And even after I got locked up, the whole time I was in prison, one time, she had told me that. I was just like, Miko, I pray for you every day when I wake up and before I go to sleep, every day. And man, that was like, man, And then I started thinking, maybe that's why a lot of things that happened to me in prison happened because she was the one praying for me, keeping me safe. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think maybe it's because of her praying for me so much that kept me safe. You know? You know?
That's powerful, Gabriel. Even you, Francisco. When it comes to when you look back at your life, I believe that you guys would be able to say, "Man, if it was not for my mom praying for me, if it was not for her prayers, because you shared a story with me that when your mom received the news that you had gotten shot, you're about to die. I mean, she went into prayer, right? She went into prayer, and she came out of that prayer saying, "God told me he's going to be okay," right?
Yeah, I told her that I wasn't gonna die, and he told her, "You serve the living God."
Yeah. Obviously you were sentenced to how long?
45 years. I was 35 in and 10 out.
45 years. Ended up serving
32.
32 years in prison.
But I also caught another 50 years, 315 to the nickel while I was locked up just for being rebellious.
Yeah. So I mean, you were pretty much done, right?
Yeah.
And you know that even just that, you know, thinking about you know, the trauma that family had to go through, your mom, your dad, family, and then also you know, on the other side of gun violence, it's not just, you know, the crime itself, but then also is the recovery part, right? And having to wake up at the hospital. You know, you were in a coma for 2 weeks. There's some internal things you're facing there. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I believe that, you know, Oklahoma City is top 10 when it comes to gun violence. There's so many homicides. The prison system is filled with tons of people that have committed some type of crime with a gun. There's trauma behind that, you know, and I think here today we, you know, from you shooting somebody, from you getting shot, you guys have lived out that trauma. You know, guys have experienced that firsthand. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, having to wake up and man, you've been shot.
Well, goes back to when I was laying there in a puddle of blood, just knowing, you know, I was gonna die. Then my homeboy that was under the car, my homeboy ET, he came around and he was holding me and he was like, and I was trying to tell him, you know, tell my mom that I love her. That was my last words. And I tried to tell him, and then he couldn't hear me because I kept throwing up blood. And he was like, "What, man? What?" And I just kept trying to tell him. Finally, I kind of got the words out, tell my mom that I love her. And that's when suddenly I seen this flashing light. It's just a big flashing light hits my face. Boom, and then as this flashing light, it was kind of like a flashing light, and at the same time, it seemed like a tunnel, like if I went to a tunnel or something, I don't know. But I ended up, it was like I was in the front of the front seat, front row of a movie theater. It was like, seeing my life, my whole life. I seen me and my little brother rolling down the grass with little babies, little kids rolling, laughing, looking at each other. And I started seeing all these areas of my life but I seen all the happy times. Seen me and my mom at my 15th birthday, and I had a big sombrero. We're taking pictures and laughing. And the next thing you know, I'm back laying there. My boy was holding me, and he was slapping my face, and he actually told me, like, later on, I asked him about it, and he told me that I had died. He goes, "You died. Your eyes turned white. Your eyes rolled back."
So that was at the scene.
Yeah, at the scene. But I had asked him later on what happened. I said, "How long was I gone?" He said, "Man, it was 10 seconds, about 10, 15 seconds." I was like, "Wow, I see my whole life." It's like, it wasn't like, no, time didn't even exist. But at the same time, all this is happening. It's happening real fast. And at the same time, it's happening in slow motion. It's like, it's hard to explain. It's happening in both things at the same time, fast and slow motion. And then I remember he took off running, and there was some guy, because we had payphones back then, and he went up to the payphone to call 911, right? And there was somebody on the phone, and they didn't want to get off the phone, and he just forced them to get off the phone and pushed them out the way. Then that's when the cops showed up, and then they tried to ask me questions, and I could barely speak, and I was like, "Just get me to the hospital." And then the ambulance showed up. They put me in the ambulance. I remember I was sitting there, and it was taking a long time. And I told them, I said, "Please hurry up." And one of the guys looked at the other guy and said, "I can't believe that he's still talking." So I was like, I knew I was going to die. So when I get to the hospital, I remember them rushing me to the operating room, and I just seen the lights going like slow motion. but at the same time real fast. The lights on the ceiling like
Yeah.
that. It was just full, like it was like a movie or something. And then they ended up. I went in there and I remember I was telling them to hurry up, and I was feeling a lot of pain because I got shot in the back. I had 4 holes in my stomach and a punctured lung. And I remember that I was telling them when I was holding my stomach, I said, "Please hurry up." And there was a nurse there, and I looked at her. I said, "Please don't let me die. I don't want to die. I'm too young." She was crying and she was holding my hand and she was telling me, "You're not gonna die." You know, and I kept telling her, "Please," but in my mind, I knew I was gone. I was like, I'm 50 years old. I was like, but the doctors didn't know I was shot in my back. So at that time, the pain started going away and I started going back. And I was, at the same time, I felt real heavy. And at the same time, I felt real light. And I felt like my spirit was coming out of my body and my body was heavy. And when I almost hit the bed of the hospital bed, my spirit was floating out of my body. That's when I realized I'm dying. And I rose up real quick. And when I rose up, it's like my spirit was back in my body. And I was like, and I started screaming again. All the pain came back instantly. And I was screaming. And as I was screaming, that's when one of the doctors seen that I was shot in my back. So they put me to sleep. They gave me a shot. And I was, as soon as they gave me the shot, I woke up and it was this place. It was cold and dark. And this darkness was like so dark that I could feel it.
No. These are things that, we've all seen these in movies. We've heard people talk about this. I mean, even when you say about, my life flashed right before my eyes, you hear that all the time, or this dark place that you were in, you hear these things not really knowing is it true, but you're witnessing it. Like, this is something you felt.
Yes.
And I mean, David, you went through the same thing. I remember you sharing that same thing, but this dark place was when you were in a coma, right?
Yeah. It was well, yeah, because I had stopped breathing and they had me on after they put me to sleep, that's when I woke up in this place. And this place, it was like I had stopped breathing afterwards. And this place I was at, it was like real dark. Like I could feel the darkness all over me. Like it was a heavy darkness that you can feel. And I was like, and then I could hear the machine breathing for me. And but it was like way up there, real far away. And it was like I was like way down under somewhere, like if I was buried. But I could hear people, I could hear the doctors. And then I could hear when they let people in, and I could hear my homeboys coming here, what they did to him, man. And they're like, it doesn't even look like him anymore. He's so swollen. And I could hear people talk and people come in crying and stuff like that. And I was in this place and I kept yelling to everybody, I hear y'all. And I was raising my head, I was like, I hear y'all. And I hadn't shed a tear yet when I got shot and everything. But in this place I was in, I didn't stop crying. I was like, I was scared. I didn't know where I was at. And I kept crying to everybody saying, I hear y'all. And nobody could hear me. And it was like, it was scary. I was like, and I kept yelling. And every time I would hear somebody talk, I would yell at them and say, I hear you. But nobody could hear me, but I could hear everything. And I remember one time when my dad and my cousin was in the room by themselves. And my dad told my cousin in Spanish that let me be here alone with them for a minute. So my cousin left, and that's when my dad started talking to me. And he told me, he goes, son, I know that you hear me. And I was crying, and I was like, Dad, I hear you. And he was like, if you hear me, he goes, please squeeze my hand. And I raised my hands up, and I was trying to squeeze his hand so hard. and I couldn't. I was like, but then I felt somebody's hand reach down there and pull me out this dark place. But it wasn't my dad. It was like I knew it was Jesus. He pulled me out. And when he pulled me out of that place, I felt myself back in my body, and I felt one teardrop came out of my eye like that. And as it rolled down, my body started going into like shock and started shaking, and I started going like this seizure. And my dad yelled for my cousin, and my cousin came in, and then they yelled for the doctors, and the nurses came in. And I was up, and I was like, I had my eyes open, but I was like shaking real bad. And then they was gonna put me back to sleep. And when I seen the needle, I kept trying to tell them, no, I didn't want to go back to this place. I was telling them no. I was trying to tell them no, but they didn't know I was what I was trying to. I couldn't do it. I was just shaking so bad, and my body was acting crazy. But they put me to sleep. And when I woke, the next time I woke up, I was in the hospital. It was like family around me and stuff. But yeah, like you said, it was like my mom found out the night I got shot, and first thing she did, she went to praying, and she told me God told her that that I wasn't gonna die.
Yeah.
And that she served the living God.
Yeah.
And you know, because I went back and asked questions. I was like,
How come you didn't cry for me? I'm just
yeah, like I was trying to see, and then I'll tell my did you say this? Did you say that?
Yeah.
You know.
You know, guys, as I'm thinking about everything that we've been talking about here today, what makes this story so powerful is what we would say the ending, and on August 23rd, 2025, while we were having an event here at Victory Outreach Church, you guys met for the first time in 34 years. 34 years after the shooting, you guys saw each other again for the first time. And, I've heard from Francisco, that day was a Saturday. And from my understanding, was it your cousin or your homie that saw Gabi and kind of started telling you, hey, I think he's here?
Yeah, it was my homeboy.
Yeah, your homeboy. And, that in itself has got to be,
He said we
just-
passed right by each other. I was like,
Oh, you guys passed right by each
He
other?
even looked right at me. And he came in the door and he got the look straight at me. And I was looking, I looked right at you.
You knew who he was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even. I don't pay attention.
Yeah, you looked
When
right
I
at
see
me.
a lot of people, I was like, and I ain't seen him in years. I don't even know. I was like,
Yeah.
I forgot what he. I mean, I don't know. Everybody changes.
Yeah. So after 34 years, you guys see each other for the first time. And I remember, the service had ended. I'm in the lobby with Art, and you come to me and you say, Pastor, the guy that shot me is here. I'm like, where's he at? And you're like, I don't know. I'm gonna go take a picture outside. I'll be right back. And as soon as you left, like not even like 5 seconds, someone comes and introduced me to you. And was it your brother or somebody? Somebody introduced me to you, and then you said, your brother said he just got out of prison, 32 years. When he said that, I put two and two together, and I was like, okay, this is him. So then we start talking. I introduce you to Art. Art starts talking to you. And then right after that, as soon as you guys are done, you turn around and he's there.
Yeah, somebody came up to me and was like, hey, Pega wants to see you.
Yeah. And then sometimes you host these events and you kind of think like, man, what's gonna happen? You know, and that was when I was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? You know, like,
Well, because I had already knew he changed his life, you know, and he written a letter on my behalf of parole. So I knew he had already, you know, changed his life and had took steps to forgive me. This, you know, but I don't think he really knew about me, about what I went through and how I've been changing and stuff needed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we tried to meet one time with Pastor Manning when I was in the High Max, and they tried to get him to come down to see me, but the warden wouldn't let him come down there at the time because they considered me a security threat. So they wouldn't let him come down there. But see, at that time though, would have been a good time for us to meet because I was still involved with all the madness.
yeah,
So that was probably a good block right there because it probably wouldn't have been good because I was still in a dark place.
mm-hmm.
But years later, after I had already, you know, heard about him changing and things like that, and me going through what I went through, and I knew eventually we was going to meet up. I knew it, you know what I mean? And I knew we'd eventually meet up. I didn't know how, when, or where, or what. And especially after I got out, you know, 'cause, you know, I live in Tulsa now or whatever. And, you know, I do come to Oklahoma City every now and then. So I knew it was a good possibility we were going to run into each other somewhere. But that day when we came here for our story, I wasn't expecting to see him. And so yeah, so when he walks in, I see him. I'm like, okay, he's here. We're gonna meet.
yeah,
And you know, afterwards when they told me that we met, it was like when we seen face to face, it was like just automatic hugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was like, man, because I had already forgiven him too. You know,
yeah,
'cause for a long time I blamed him for me going to prison and all that, but really, it was my decisions that got me in prison,
yeah,
not him.
yeah. He had said that when you guys embraced, that he said, "I'm sorry," and then you said, "I should be the one
I told him,
Yeah.
forgive
saying
me.
sorry." You know, forgiving. You know, but
Yeah, so I
that's
should
why I
be
had
the
asked him
one,
about that. He's like, "Well, you know what? I put him through a lot too. You know, I would, you know, go after him. I would chase him. And,
Yeah.
you know, so." But I think that embrace right there, I mean, it was powerful. You know?
It was real powerful because even though in my mind, in my heart, I had let the hate, the anger go, and I had already made the choice to forgive him. That it wasn't until actually that we embraced that I actually felt that weight lift off of me.
Yeah,
It was literally a weight lifted off my
It was the
shoulders.
same with me, even though I gave my life to God, I forgave him instantly that day.
yeah,
You know, so many years I was holding that deal. It was like I was gonna kill him. That was what I lived for. I was like,
The revenge.
I was like,
The vengeance.
the longer he stays locked up, the longer I'm gonna stay free. That was my mindset. You know, the longer the better for me.
yeah,
That's the way I thought. So I'm gonna be out enjoying life until the day I see him. Then I'm gonna do what I have to do and ruin my life. But that day, even though after I gave my life to God, I forgave him.
yeah,
But it was still, I still had. Well, I forgave him, but he hasn't changed. His brothers haven't changed. I was like, now I gotta. What if they try to get me?
yeah,
I would have recurring nightmares.
yeah,
Then I started talking to Julio, and he was still going through a lot of struggles, but he came up, talked to me, and we was talking, and I would talk to him till we met through Pastor Manning again, and it was like I would have nightmares that Julio would set me up for him and his other brother to get me, or any,
Yeah.
and it was like I would be talking to Julio,
as a
and then I'd be
Christian,
like,
as a Christian,
as a Christian. And then all of a sudden I'll see him coming around the corner and I'll look at Julio like, oh man. You know, it was like,
almost like the enemy didn't want you to forgive him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had already forgave him, but I felt like even though I forgave him, they still haven't forgave me.
Yeah,
They're gonna get me.
Yeah,
You know, that's what but that day, it just, the day that may stop. But
Yeah.
that's when I felt like, and it was when I went up to the first thing, we just looked at each other and hugged each other, man. And I said, I told him, hey man, forgive me. He said, forgive you because you should be. I should be the one asking for forgiveness.
Yeah.
You don't forgive me.
Wow. You know, this story is powerful, especially because, you know, you don't hear stories like that. You know, they always end in, the worst case scenario, but in this case, what has happened with you both is, I believe, a story that needs to get out, needs to be heard. I mean, just that, when I seen you guys embrace, I took my phone out, took a picture of that. And that picture, I mean, was seen by thousands of people, and their comments, about, man, that's powerful, from all over, from all over. And, I think that speaks volumes to the power, the working power of God in our lives, to those that are listening right now, who knows where they might be, where they find themselves right now. They're the audience is pretty wide, but what would you say to maybe that one person right now that is finding themselves maybe in the middle of, gang violence, or maybe, they're thinking about revenge, or maybe they're in prison right now, or maybe there's a mom that's listening right now who has a son that's really, really involved in this. What would be your message to them?
Well, I would say my message would be that I've been there. I've been in that place, didn't have a way out, or I thought it didn't have a way out, and was just fed up with everything. But there is a way out, and you always got a choice. You always got a choice. So regardless of what you're going through, or what homies or whatever, this is about you, and you need to make the choice for you, not for nobody else. And I did it through God. He was able to help me and help me find the strength to go through what I did, and to finally get away from everything. And it was all God that walked me through it, and I'm here now. I believe that if it wasn't for that, I still would have stayed in my rebellious ways, and I'd either be dead right now or locked up with even more time. Because like I said, I even got 50 more years on top of the 45, it's 95 years. And for me even be here right now is, not just with my sentence, but with me just physically being alive, all of it is it's a miracle through God.
Yeah.
And so my message would be not to give up hope, and that there's always a way out. You might not see it, and it might not be like right now, but if you keep that faith and you keep that hope alive, that God will help us find a way. So not to ever give up.
But you,
That's just one.
Well, my message too is also to like the mothers. You got kids going through it in prison. Don't give up. It's very. Jesus is the only way. He's the answer. I truly believe that even though all the stuff that I went through, that we went through, it was because of our mom's prayers that all of us, that we're still here. And it's truly, once you have that relationship with God, with Jesus, he'll change everything else. That's the only way. That's the only way to do it. That's my message. Also, when you shoot somebody, or you plan on, you don't realize you're involving your whole family. So you're gonna have part of my family trying to get back at his family, or his friends trying to get back at my. It's just, it's just ongoing.
ongoing cycle.
And the only way to stop it is starting with you. You got to change, and the only way you can change is through Jesus.
Pastor David, what would you say maybe to someone that's out there hearing, listening, what's the message of hope for them?
Definitely, prior to saying that, I just want to highlight to everyone as far as God's timing. Like God's time is just perfect, because when Gabriel had just got released, there was a first time that you came to South 29, remember?
Yep.
And this was first time seeing him face to face after so many years, never knowing him in person, but knowing of his name. And you know what I mean? So there was, at that time, so much like war going on, even with him being in prison and us being out here. And as soon as we embraced, and the first thing like at that moment that came to me was Francisco, because I knew, you know what I mean? He's the one that did it. And what I say God's timing, because man, my heart was like, man, they need to meet. But for some reason I was wrestling with God. God didn't give me the okay. Like he was like, you know what I mean? And I was in a way feeling like man, I'm not fulfilling God's will, you know what I mean? But God showing what he did that night here, you know what I mean, where how he lined it up. How you were saying earlier, how something was so fast, you know what I mean? And in an instant, Julio called, you know what I mean? And what's this about? And I let him pull up before y'all could even, and then y'all coming in. But at the same time, knowing like, man, is both of them ready? You know what I mean?
almost didn't come that night. I almost didn't come that night, but because my dad was coming, like, well, I would need to go too because my dad's going, so I gotta go too. You know what I mean? So I went, and I almost didn't make it.
And in the middle of that, so it's within seconds where when I say God's timing, because us as believers being tuned in, because all this is going on and they both get at the same time. And then so I'm seeing them both like, man, is the bro really ready? Is the bro ready as well too? You know what I mean? Even as a believer, you know what I mean? It's hard. So when I went up and I asked you, bro, how are you? Remember when you were sitting over there? But and knowing he got some of his homies that they're still active, so you can't really even say stuff in front of them. And then when I'm over there with you, like you good, you know what I mean? Like kind of trying to feel how they're at, you know what I mean? Before even and then, but you see how God did it. As soon as they're coming out, you're right there, and Julio comes, and you see how
It was perfect.
God,
I didn't
you know
even
what
know it. He was behind the scenes working on his behalf. You know, like I didn't even know, and I didn't even expect to see him. I'm telling you, I walked right past him, and I didn't know it was him. I there's so many people. I was just walking, and my homeboy knew. He was like, you go, did you see when we sat down? He goes, did you see Gabi? He goes, I said, he's here. He goes, y'all walk right past each other.
Yeah.
And he started getting all jumpy, like, you know, and then,
Get the little out.
and then as soon as he told me that, I said, oh, he's here. And I felt, joy. I was like, wow. I'm like, he's here. I mean, and I knew it was God. It was like, God was doing something. And then he I guess he put the little home button on nothing. The other little kid that was with him was active too. And he, I guess he told him something, but they didn't know. And I was like, they was all jumping. I was like, then my cousin came up and he was like in the back with his wife, and I guess he told him too. And then my cousin started getting all like jumpy too. And he was like, are you okay? You okay? I was like, I just smiled. I said, man, y'all don't understand. I mean, this is God, man. It's God doing something right now. And I just smiled at him. But it was just perfect time.
It was. It really was.
So sharing with like the people that you see how it started with them with God first, you know what I mean? As far as them to like that preparation of like, okay, like, man, do you really forgive this person? You know what I mean? Because like one could say it and everything, but like truly wholeheartedly within the heart, like, am I really going to forgive the person? Am I really giving it to God? And then that preparation going where, boom, God lines it up, and then boom, y'all embrace.
It's crazy because, like you said, I live my life, all my gangster life. The only thing I thought about was the day I was going to kill him. I had 4 bullets with his name engraved, 445 bullets. And I was like, I know he shot at me 5 times, but he said, I was like, 4 of them hit me. I said, I'm just going to return them. Let these 4 bullets hit him exactly where he hit me, see if he makes it. That was my thought. And then time went by, and I ended up doing time or whatever, or being out there doing crazy stuff, I lost a bullet. I had 3. I was like, wow. I said, well, these 3 will do it. I kept them bullets together. I don't know how they was getting lost. And then next thing, they had your full name on them engraved. And I was like, well, then time kept going by and this and that happened or whatever, life keeps going. I lost another bullet. I was like, hey, now I only got 2 bullets. I'm like, what? 2 bullets will do it. That's enough. This is 45. I'm just going to do it. And finally, I went to state prison, all of that, and then get out, and I was like, I had 1 bullet left. I was like, man, well, I only got 1 bullet. I was like, 1 bullet is gonna do it. That's it. That's all I need. Then I went to federal prison, and that's where I had an encounter with God. Gave my life to God in that prison cell. So God instantly filled me with forgiveness for him instantly. Not only for him, there was people in that pod with me. I had all my homeboys. I had some people there I was going to get at too. But that day I gave my life to God, the next morning I walked out. I didn't feel no more hate. I didn't feel no more hate.
When
towards the people.
that last bullet vanished.
Yeah. And when I got out, the last bullet was gone. I was like, the bullets was disappeared.
Yeah.
I was like, now I think about it, man, God, look what God did. All this, he's had all this time, just like he wasn't ready. So God kept him in there, catching more time because he wasn't ready to meet me or or else maybe my nightmare would have came true. I would have,
That fight. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
but it's just perfect timing.
Amen.
And man, it's just God's forgiveness. It's
Amen.
great, man.
So definitely to that question, by this being said, like, people that's watching, for the ones that, if someone's in prison, someone's in the streets, anyone that's still active in this lifestyle, it's a powerful story right here for you to see both ends. The one that is in prison right now, that, committed a crime, did something to someone, and then that fight right there with, man, you know what I mean? Is the person going to be able to forgive me for what I've done? Can I forgive myself? Is there any hope of this? Right here, you're able to see, like, through that, you know what I mean, where the one that was incarcerated for so many years, you know what I mean, of course there was a fight for it, but we see the end results of it. You know what I mean? Like, wow, look what God did on his timing. For the other one that is, you know what I mean, experienced gunshot wounds or whatnot, either way, instead of, a retaliation, all that anger and everything, like how the bullets kept on getting removed, God was removing them and did the process in both of them. So that's for both people in those areas, that no matter what thoughts are coming in, no matter what people are telling you, no matter what, all those feelings, like, this is living proof right now that the same God that we serve, you can as well too. You know what I mean? He can heal you. He can free you. For the mothers out there, we're hearing as far as both brothers shared both situations while they was deep in darkness, deep serving the devil, their mothers was warring in prayer. So as far as the devil was trying to come through death and darkness and try to kill them, their mother's prayers were being answered, and God was coming right there, stomping on the enemy. You know what I mean? And moving them out the way. And so anybody that's young, you know what I mean, teenagers, definitely use this as a prime example, because when you're in the moment, the adrenaline that you're thinking, where you want to prove a point, where you want your other friends to think, you know what I mean, man, I'm going to get some credit by doing this, or man, you know what, this is my neighborhood, or they have to, all of that. Take a second to see right here, you know what I mean, as far as it's not worth to go all those years in prison, perhaps even do a life sentence. Both family victims will suffer. You have your parents, they're locked up with you when you're locked up as well too, because they're missing you and hurting. The ones as well too, you know what I mean, on the other side. So keep in mind, you know what I mean, to get hope from right here, the story. And the mothers, continue praying for your kids, continue lifting them up. And this is simply just hope from everyone. And again, before I end it, the ones that are still active in this life, you know what I mean? It's not weak to change. It's not weak to, you know what I mean, to do something better for yourself. Because if you truly think about it, anyone that has children, the life that you're living at that moment, would you want your children to live like that? And anybody that's real with it was like, man, we know what we go through. We don't want our kids to go through that. And so it starts within ourselves, you know what I mean? it takes more strength and courage to become what the people think is weak. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy to pull a trigger. It's so easy to get at someone, but it's so more hard when you're gonna really come and love someone, forgive someone, and not, you know what I mean, do damage to them. So hope for everyone in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Amen.
I want to let everybody know too that, Jesus Christ can save no matter where you find yourself at right now. He came to save that which was lost. And if you're listening here today, maybe you don't know Jesus, all you got to do is cry out to him. The Bible says that he is faithful and just to forgive us of all our sins and cleanse us of all unrighteousness. And so, we want to make that available, that serving Jesus is not boring. I mean, it's been the funnest ride I've been on, 25 years. I want you to know that Jesus loves you. We're praying for you guys. Oklahoma, we're praying for you. Believing great things for your life. And Francisco and Gabriel, so good to have you guys here, just listening to your story. I believe God has great things up ahead for you guys. I mean, there is purpose for you. Clearly, God has a plan for your life. And we're praying, we're rooting you guys on. We're really in this with you guys. And we know that God's going to do great things. Like, man.
I have one more thing to say. Back then, when people used to come and talk to me about God, one of the main things that the enemy used in my mind was like, who is this guy trying to tell me about God when he doesn't know what I'm going through? He's not no gangster. He don't know what I'm doing. He don't know who I am. Because I feel like I could relate to him. So I was like, he doesn't have any right to come and tell me anything about God or anything. But right here with all these brothers, you have people who's been there. You have people who's different gangs, 3 different gangs. And my brother here too, Pastor Martin, we've all been through it. Drug addiction, prison, juvenile, state penitentiary, federal penitentiary. So, the enemy can't use that anymore because we're here.
Hey, thank you for tuning in to Treasures Podcast. We hope and pray that you've been blessed by the content we've been delivering. Treasures Podcast serves to highlight those that are making an impact in the city. And we believe we got some powerful episodes coming up. If you wouldn't mind, would you like and subscribe to our page and also comment? We pray that you are blessed by the content being provided. God bless you.